Tonight I came here to speak about domestic violence and my situation with domestic violence. I hope to accomplish that domestic violence doesn't discriminate, that it can happen to anyone. It doesn't matter what ethnic they are, whether they're rich or they're poor. It affects everyone, and I want everyone to know that this community has some really great free services, and that they don't have to stay in that situation. It's very hard to walk away because that person continues to pull you back. But the point that I want to make is that there are other people out there, and there are so many services that our great community offers. The Federal Women's Federation is behind the event, along with Rape Crises. And of course, Brian DiLeonardo, our state's attorney, also spoke. Family Services also spoke. And they're behind this event to bring awareness to the community. I think the event was a good eye-opener for the community. They don't really realize what goes on, but there was also some people when we had a question and answer, which really had some wonderful questions that were asked of the panel, and somebody knows somebody, and I think that's probably the gist of this event. Is, again, nobody wants to talk about it, but we really do need to have the conversation. My mission is to make awareness, number one, to fill these purple bags that are sponsored by Terry's Second Title and the Carroll County State's Attorney's Office, to get the word out, because when somebody walks away, sometimes they walk away with nothing. And it's important to know that you have something to go to, or something that can fill your bag, or a toy for your child, because your child has been pulled out of a situation that, you know, they don't know what to do. They don't have their favorite blanket for some reason, or they don't have their truck or their Barbie doll. That's what I hope to get at, to fill these bags. I am part of the women's organization, so they're always, if they want to reach out to me, they're always willing to go out to the Carroll County State's Attorney's Office. Brian has an awesome team that he works with. They're very knowledgeable and they're very compassionate. They don't judge you, which is, really hard when you're in this situation. You're afraid that somebody is going to judge you. And then we have Children's Family and Services. What a wonderful group of people that is. Very giving, very kind, and heartfelt. I just hope that if you know somebody that's in the situation, that you don't judge them, and that you just hold their hand or give them a hug and know that you're there for them if they need something. That, sometimes people take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. That doesn't mean that they don't have it on the back of their mind, that they're thinking about leaving. They have to do it in their time.
Other guest, Delegate Susan Krebs, is here. If she would stand, and we need to give her an applause. Thank you. As you came into the auditorium this evening, you were given a white index card and a pen, and you are to put questions on that, and later in the program, our ladies will deliver that to the moderator, which is Mrs. Condon, and she will share the questions, and we will have the panel answer as well as other guests. So, without any further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce our keynote speaker this evening, Terry Smack, and she will share her journey and her story.
Good evening, everyone. I want to welcome everybody to the program, and I want to thank everyone who had anything to do with it, because this is a subject that we don't want to talk about, but we need to talk about it. I want to begin with a statement that I had put on my refrigerator a very long time ago, and it still stays there to this day. I am an intelligent, worthy, and valuable human being. I am a survivor. I have raised 4 children, done it on my own, maintained a career, and give myself credit for doing the best that I can. I will strive for excellence rather than perfection. And I alone will determine how I will measure up to that yardstick. I will value the input of others, but I will never substitute their judgment for my own. I'm an intelligent, worthy, valuable human being. I want to tell my story. It's kind of like some other people's that had involved in domestic violence, because domestic violence does not discriminate. Most people think it's lower class, uneducated individuals. That is far, far from the truth. Victims come from every background. My situation began with a man who was very, very attentive. He took the time to carefully lay the groundwork for a very controlling environment. Mike is his real name, and yes, I want to use his real name because I'm not ashamed to. Would call me when we were dating and check on me, and I never really thought anything about it, and then it got to, who are you with, and what are you doing? And again, I didn't think anything about it. I just thought that he was really concerned, and how naive was I? You see, when you're not used to having somebody attentive in your life, you kind of like it. You kind of like getting that attention. I'm not saying that you can't have someone caring and concerning in your life, because I'm lucky enough to have that person in my life now. And there is a difference. So through my journey, it was a long journey. We were together almost 10 years. And I'm going to hit on some high spots, because I think that it's really important that you know, if you haven't lived through it, or if you're talking to someone who's living it, how you need to treat it. But the first time Mike was mad, it was about something, and I don't even remember. I don't even remember anything I ever got mad about, to tell you the truth. I was standing at the sink, and I was washing dishes. And he got mad, and he was yelling at me in this weird tone. He never really had a yell and a screaming. It was always this eerie kind of voice that he had. And he kept talking to me, and he was pointing at me and pointing at me. And finally, he pointed so hard that he hit my lip and split my lip open. And then he took the tea towel off my shoulder that I was using to do with the dishes and started hitting me with it. And I started crying, and I didn't know what to do. You know, you just don't know what you're going to do in that situation. And this didn't happen until we had been in the relationship for at least 4 or 5 years. After that time, Mike was mad about, again, who knows what. And I had my 1-year-old son I was holding in my arms, and he had come home from work. And he owned his own business. And so I'm sure there were some pressures, but I'm not going to make that excuse for him. I'm not making any excuse for him. But he took both of his hands and put them around my neck while I had our 1-year-old son in my arms and beat my head up against the door jamb. I was crying. I didn't know what to do. I got myself away, and I called the police. I called 911. And we lived pretty far out off of Bachman Valley Road, and a big house on 7 acres. And the police arrived, and by the time the police arrived, he had me convinced that it wouldn't happen again. And here's where the roller coaster begins. The first of many. The abuse was not only physical, it was verbal. And you see, Mike had created this world where he made me feel like I couldn't escape. And that's how most people who are in this situation, they get so deep that they don't realize that there is an out. But they make you feel like no one wants you. You will never be anything. You will never have anything unless they have them. That's the way they make you feel. And in the midst of all of this, before all this kind of happened, I quit my job and I went to work for him for his business. He bought a vehicle because we had kids so that I could drive it, a nice little van. We built a house together. It was our house. But he keenly had me sign the house over to him and put just in his name. That's how calculating he was. I was really too deep to see the light. You see, I grew up with a very strong, independent mother who, like some of us, have said, "You made your bed, lie in it." And as a young mother, many times that played in my head because I had been beaten down so far. There was one occasion where we were supposed to go out to an event, and I got all dressed up, and I come down the long steps, and here I am looking, I'm looking pretty good. All 103 pounds of me. Can you imagine this, 103 pounds? I came down the steps, and he said, "I'm not taking you. You're too fat." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. But yet, he had me believe it. He had a control over me that was unbelievable. A person who I thought had it all together, I really didn't. There was an incident that was close to the end, and I mean the end of when I finally had had enough, that had me so terrified, I really didn't know what to do. Literally, I was terrified. That morning, he woke up, and he wanted sex, and I didn't want to participate. So he left for work. Been gone probably about 15 minutes, I don't know, maybe it felt like longer than that. So I decided to get up and I got in the shower. He came back. Here I was standing in the shower, stark naked, and the shower door didn't pull out, it pulled in. And he took that shower door and he banged and banged and banged and banged me into the wall so hard that it broke the shower head out of the tile. The shower door shattered. I stood there screaming and standing and holding myself and holding my hands over my face, screaming. It was over, and he left. Another incident, I called the police again because they had been out to our house many times. Because again, it was a roller coaster ride. Just like a little circle, you think it's going to get better, and they talk you into it, and it's going to get better. I fell into that. So I called the police, and for some reason, the state police did not show up. It was the sheriff's department. And I have to say, I don't know that man's name, and I hope someday I find out who he was, because he was one of my saving graces. He talked to me, he gave me pamphlets, told me what services we had in this wonderful county, which I had been kept from, gave me all kinds of information, and said, "I am not going to leave here until you call somebody." You see, my family knew nothing. I kept it from them. Because I didn't want to disappoint I was scared. I didn't want to be embarrassed. And that was probably one of the worst things and choices I ever made. But it's hindsight now. So the sheriff sat down and talked to me and told me some of the things that the county could do for me and what I should do, how to go get an ex parte order to keep Mike from the house. Because a couple of times during this whole time, these years that go over, he would leave the house for a couple days and call me up and make me feel like, it was my fault again and wiggle his way back in, because that's what they do best. They're like little snakes. They get right back in. And of course, they make you think that it's all your fault. So I thought it was all my fault. But this sheriff sat with me and would not leave, and he said, "Who are you going to call?" I had no idea who I was going to call. But I called my sister, who lives outside of Atlanta, close to my mother and my stepfather. And she said, "Why don't you stand by a few minutes and let me take care of some things, and I'll call you back." 15 minutes later, I'm still sitting there at the kitchen table with the sheriff, and my mother calls. And she owned her own business. She took the time and drove all night long with my stepfather, over 600 miles that night, to be with me, to help guide me through to things that I didn't know that I needed to do. My mother went with me to help get an ex parte order. Shortly then, we went before a judge, and I received some relief, which means I got to stay in the house because I had the kids. And thank goodness for that. But there were several ex parte orders that were issued over a time. And I'm going to say there was probably about 5 before I finally had it. Because every time he convinced me, he would change. He would seek therapy, he would go on medicine, you name it, he would try it, nothing worked. I understand the statement that when you haven't walked in someone's shoes, you can't judge them. So I hope that you will remember that when you talk to somebody or you listen to somebody. Please don't judge, because you do not know what they have been through. The person can control your life without you even realizing it. They make you feel weak. They make you feel worthless. But you need to know that you are not alone. You have to get to the point where you start to build a brick wall. And that's what I did. I started one row at a time. It was extremely hard. And sometimes I felt like the block wall got broken down by him. But I just kept on, and I kept on. Even though he owned the car that I drove, he had the bank account, and he owned the house. But I was lucky that the court saw through everything that he was doing and awarded me time to stay in the house. We had an old computer sitting in our kitchen one night during this time. And one night, I don't know what I was doing because I can barely use a computer now. I was looking around, and I found a document that my oldest daughter had written. She never shared it with me. I think she wrote it hoping I would find it. I don't remember the exact words, but it was something to the effect that you can do better than this. Here was my daughter, younger than me, telling me something I already knew. That's a little unusual, isn't it? After several years on the roller coaster ride, I was ready to get off. No one knows when it really is time. Some never do. I stand here tonight telling you part of my story, peeling my layers away back in my life. And I just want you to know that I really did the best that I could at that time. I worked hard to build on my wall, one layer at a time, giving myself time to heal in the process. And I got a good counselor that was very instrumental in my life, that sat there and listened and didn't judge me like another counselor that I had gone to. Because I needed to remember that I am intelligent, worthy, and a valuable human being. Just remember, if you know someone or if you are that person, that you're in a relationship, that it's not feeling right, that it's not going right, that he doesn't treat you the way that you need to be treated, or she, I don't want you to walk away. I want you to run away. I want you to run as fast as you can. I had a customer after I went back to work in another place. After I was separated, I went to work for someone else. And it was a very nice older gentleman. And I had been crying that day, and he could tell. And he wanted to have a little conversation. So I kind of gave him a little bit what was going on. And he just grabbed my hand, and he said, "When one door closes, another one will open." And you know, to this day, that plays in my life every day. When a door closes, another one will open. It took me 5 years to get my divorce and a custody battle. I fought for my children, and I won. Full custody of my children. He only got visitation. I got the house, and I finally got my freedom. I sold the house. That was the first thing I did. On the day of my divorce, and I received the house, it went on the market. No joke. I wanted a fresh start. I needed a fresh start, and my kids needed a fresh start. Through all this crazy mess, I met a man who loves me unconditionally. We have a wonderful life together. Between us, we have 8 kids, 10 grandkids, and let's not forget about our 3 lovely dogs. I want to thank my children for never giving up on me, to help me be a stronger person than I could ever be. I want to thank the loving community, because we do live in a great one. We just don't realize it sometimes. But you guys need to look around. And I want to thank some of my great friends that I have met over the past couple years, and I have met some great ones, and they have been great friends, and I love them dearly. Thank you, Jack, for hanging in there with me. I want to let you also know that as a part of the community, I'm working with the Carroll County State's Attorney's Office to fill purple survival bags. There's some out in the lobby. If you could take one and fill it, I really appreciate it. Those things go to the safe house, and for people who are in a situation that's not as lucky as I was to have the house and to be able to stay in it, to have things, whether it's deodorant or anything, is greatly appreciated. I also wanted to point out a phone call I got this afternoon from an older gentleman. His name was Jim. He didn't want me to use his last name. And he had read the article in the Carroll County Times. And he wanted to make sure that someone knew that someone was worried about the pets. And you know what? You don't even really think about that. Because some people are worried about what's going to happen to their animals because you're afraid they're going to hurt them. But I did happen to call the Carroll County Humane Society today, and I'm happy to announce that they do have a program that if someone is in that situation and can't find a place for their animal, that they will be able to take it up to 2 weeks. Baltimore County, can you believe this? Baltimore County Humane Society does not have the program. Carroll County does. So that's good news. So in closing, I just want to say I'm an intelligent, worthy, and valuable human being. Thank you.
Wow. Let's hear it again for Terry. Girlfriend, look at you now. Look at you now. Thank you so much. That goes to show you one person can make a difference. So someone here tonight has heard you, and they know there are resources out there, and you give people the courage to step forward to get out of those bad situations. So thank you. You do make a difference. Thank you. Wonderful person in the community, too. You give so much back to this community, so thank you. Okay, well, I'm Janice Kispert with Rape Crisis Intervention Service, and I want to thank you all for coming out this evening. I also want to give a big shout out to the General Federation of Women's Clubs of Westminster for partnering. Talk about movers and shakers, yes. Awesome group. They also supplied all the goodies out there tonight, and I understand a lot of them were home-baked. So thank you all, ladies. Awesome job. Thank you again to Terry. I also want to remind folks, we're going to talk about some really powerful, emotional topics. If anyone is upset and needs to speak to anyone, we have folks from Family and Children's Services and Rape Crisis here to help you. So there is help tonight. Please reach out and just let us know. There's also information out there. There's hotline numbers, so if you feel the need to reach out to someone, please do so. I have the pleasure right now to introduce a group. Their name is Foolproof. The nonprofit I knew I wasn't going to say that, improv theater group made up of local teenagers. And they're all drug-free, alcohol-free, and tobacco-free. That in itself is, yeah. Awesome. So they've been around since 1987. And they talk about and they present scenes about issues facing our society today. So with that in mind, I'd like to introduce Paul Zimmerman, and this is just a wonderful group. They're going to really do some powerful scenes here, so grab your tissues and stay tuned. This is going to be awesome. So welcome Foolproof and Paul Zimmerman.
Okay, as she said, we're an improvisational theater troupe. We know where we start from, we know where we end up, we know who the characters are, but the kids did not know who they were playing tonight until about 10 minutes till 7. So that's basically how we do things, usually 20 minutes before we go on. What you're going to see tonight is a little different from our normal show. Our normal show would be a poem followed by 5 scenes, followed by a thing that we call words of hope, words of addiction, and then it's followed by a question and answer session of the characters from the scenes. We don't have time to do that tonight, and hopefully we'll get you back for our family and friends show so that you can see the full one. Tonight we're going to do 3, hopefully 4 scenes for you, dealing with different issues: domestic violence, sex trafficking, date rape, and verbal abuse. So I ask you to please, actually I just want to thank you for coming. All right, thank you all very much. And ladies and gentlemen, Foolproof.
Jeff, I need you out of the house right now.
What? Dad,
Get
what are you
out
talking
of the
about?
house. I'm not gonna tell you again. Listen, out of my house now.
Okay. Hey,
Jeff,
hey,
hey,
what's up?
what are you doing? Oh, sit down. You smell
Thanks.
terrible. You been drinking again?
Yeah, but Dad kicked me out for nothing. I was just doing my homework. Look, can you just get me a beer, please?
Get you a beer?
Yeah.
Are you serious? No, you are so drunk right now and I'm not gonna get you a beer.
Why not?
Cause I don't like seeing you this
Hey,
way.
please,
Okay,
just
shh.
get me a beer.
Hey, quiet down, all right? My parents are upstairs.
But please, just go get me a beer. That's all I'm asking.
I'm gonna get you water. Hey, I'm home.
Oh, hey.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How was your day?
Oh, it was so good. You know that house that has been on the market forever?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I met with the client today and I think it's actually gonna sell.
Oh, good.
I'm
That's good.
so excited. This has been such a hassle. I'm so glad.
Well, I want to tell you about my day.
Yeah, how was it?
So, you know our favorite bakery?
Yeah.
So
That's where I took him.
Yeah, funny story about that. I was going there to get, a surprise for you because I know you've been working so hard. And I really, really wanted you to feel like you've been doing something right.
Thank you, that's so sweet.
But I saw you get very personal with your client, and I really wasn't a fan of that. I didn't really know what was going on at that moment.
Here you go.
What is this?
It's water. Drink it.
I asked for a beer, Kara.
Doesn't matter what you asked
How
for.
hard
Here's-
is that?
How hard
One
is it?
beer, one simple beer.
You know what? You're acting just like your father.
Kara,
You always
what
do
did
stuff
you
like
just say?
this. I said you're acting
you
like your
kidding me?
father.
Are
You
you
hate
kidding
how he
me?
acts. Oh.
Listen, you think you know?
Stop.
Hey! I can't believe that you just go out and go father like that. You're kidding me like that. Do you not love me? Do you not love me?
Just get me a beer.
I had the greatest life a teenager could ask for. I had a boyfriend who loved me, and I loved him back, and my parents and I, we got along like any teenager with their parents would. But that all changed the day I found out I was pregnant.
I'm pregnant and
Wait,
I don't know
what?
what to do.
How?
I just really need your support.
Whose is it?
It's yours. What
How-
do you mean, whose is it?
What do you mean
I
it's
only live
mine?
with you.
Yeah, but you told me that you were on the pill. Did you lie to me?
I didn't.
I can't
Why?
deal with
What's
a baby right now.
Well, neither could I.
Well, then why would you do this to us?
Why
This
would
is
I?
your fault, and you're gonna have to deal with it. I'm done.
I was heartbroken. How could someone who said they loved me just throw me to the side like that? I figured I could go to the only place that I knew I would be safe. So I told my parents.
You You're pregnant?
I
thought you were gonna have to talk with her. Are you kidding me? No daughter of mine is gonna be pregnant. No, you can't support a baby.
I know, but I was asking for your help.
Who's the father?
Who's the father?
Yes.
It's Colin, obviously.
Colin? So that means it's Colin's baby.
Yeah.
So then go live with Colin.
No, calm down.
No. Get out of my house.
Can we talk about this
No.
for a second?
Get out.
Colin left me and my parents kicked me out. I had nowhere to go. I had little money and I was lost. So I hopped on a bus and landed in some random city. I started to get really hungry.
Can I just have it to go?
Hey, I can get that for you.
You don't have to.
No, please, it's my pleasure.
Okay. Thanks.
Oh, do you have a place to stay? You look kind of lost.
I was just gonna stay on a bench somewhere.
No, you're not bad enough for a bench. You should live with me, okay?
I don't know. I don't really know you.
No, it's all right, okay? You can trust me.
Maybe just for one night.
Okay.
He was my beacon of hope when I was lost. He was so kind and so nice from the beginning. I stayed with him for a couple of days, and then it turned into a couple of months. And he was there for me through everything, even when I lost the baby. And I started to realize how great of a guy he was, that we sort of got into a relationship. And that relationship turned physical. And then one day, the happiness was gone.
Okay, so you've been living here for a while now, and I hate to ask you this, but I think you're gonna have to start paying rent or something. I can't keep paying for this.
Okay, I could try and find a job somewhere.
No. You don't need a real job. Hey, listen to me. I think that there are a couple of guys that would be very happy if you had a night with them.
Do you mean like a prostitute?
No, just one night with them. It'd be fine.
I don't know if I can.
No.
I don't know if I can do that.
That's your only option.
I
Hey, that's your only option, okay? That's all you can do right now.
Okay.
All right.
Why did she think that I could support a baby?
My little girl is out there all alone.
Please come home.
She can do this one thing for me.
I don't know what to do anymore.
I'm trapped. This movie is so funny.
This movie's awful.
It's not awful.
I think it's
such a good movie.
Who even picked this?
I did.
Oh, well.
Okay, it's
I
one of
guess
my favorite movies. Don't judge till you watch the whole thing. Thank you. Is anybody hungry?
Yeah,
Yeah.
a little bit.
Babe, can you go call the pizza in?
Yeah, sure.
I'll go
Right.
with.
really cute. Do you think he likes me?
Of course he likes you. Why would he like be getting closer to you as the movie's going on?
Oh my
Of
gosh.
course he likes you. I mean, like, you guys could look really good together.
Oh, that's so exciting. Thank you for setting
Oh my
this
God,
up.
no, of course. I know, like, it's anything that I can do to help. Maybe, like, you could go and get the pizza with him. Like, I can just be like, hey, you should go get the pizza. And, hey.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay.
All right, guys. I think I'm gonna go pick it up.
Oh, okay. Do you want to bring Kelly?
Yeah, sure. Come on.
Okay. Oh,
You're such a good matchmaker.
thanks, babe.
Okay, now let's watch a different movie.
Hey, I think we got a lot of time to kill, so what if we pull over here? There's a spot I know.
Okay.
Just look at the view. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
It's just like you.
That was really nice. You can kiss me again if you want.
Yeah?
I think we should just stick to kissing.
Why? What's wrong?
I don't want to go that far. It's first date.
But
Please stop messing with my shirt. That's
just
okay.
calm down.
Hey,
all right? Everything is
please
fine.
Stop.
Just stop struggling.
That's my belt, and I.
Stop struggling.
Stop,
It'll be
please
over
stop.
soon. Just stop.
Ow, that hurts. Please
Stop struggling.
Please get off of me. Get off. Help! Someone help! Please.
Stop yelling.
Please get
Stop
off.
struggling.
Please.
It'll be over sooner
Please
if you stop struggling.
Please take me home.
Whatever. Hey, I had a lot of fun tonight. Maybe we could go out on a date again sometime?
I don't know.
Well, maybe we should just keep this between us. You wouldn't want to be going around school and everyone know that you're, person have sex on the first date.
Hey, Kelly, how was your date?
It was fine.
Kelly, what's wrong? You've been talking about this forever. Are you okay? What happened to you?
Hey guys, I got the pizza.
What took you so long? We had to start another movie.
Oh, sorry. It just got a little bit caught up.
Where's Kelly?
Oh, she had to go home. She said that she wasn't feeling well, so I just dropped her off on the way back.
Okay, whatever.
Oh.
Here, give me pizza.
I don't know what happened. It was mine. I couldn't get him off. I tried so hard. I couldn't stop. I'm sorry.
Hey, I think I'm just gonna call her. Just to
No,
make
no,
sure
no,
she's
no.
okay.
You don't have to call her. She's fine.
Did you flip
She's-
the car or something? What happened to this pizza?
What do you mean? You ordered it.
I'm sorry. I don't know what to do. Is that your phone?
That's me.
Lauren?
Yeah? Wait, what's up?
This is Meg. Is that guy still there that you set Kelly up with?
Yeah, what's wrong? I heard that Kelly's sick. Is she okay?
She's not. Keep him there
What's going on?
because I'm calling the police.
Why?
Because he raped my sister. So, I made some brownies.
They aren't
It looks-
homemade.
it
I
looks
made them from a
delicious.
box, but it's fine.
Thank you so much for inviting us for dinner. It was very nice of you.
Oh, sure. So, come on, dig in.
Okay.
All right, I'll take one.
Babe, can you sit up straight, please? You
Oh,
look like a monkey.
Sorry. Thank you.
Hmm?
Do you want one?
Yeah, I'll take one.
Oh,
Alright.
maybe you shouldn't, because I know you're like going on that diet, so maybe you should like,
Oh,
not eat
yeah.
that much.
Yeah, never mind it. Diet.
Well, we have other stuff, right?
He's fine.
All
I'll
right.
have a slice though.
Oh,
Thank you.
of course. Here you go.
Thank you.
Of course. I saw on Facebook that you guys took dancing lessons the other day. How was
Yeah,
that?
It went pretty good.
It was good. You're a little down on your feet, but
Yeah.
like very, very bad. But
I'm sure.
it's all right. You tried.
I thought I did pretty good, but
Yeah, I'm sure
guess
you.
not.
I'm
Don't-
sure you did.
Don't make yourself feel too good. You're okay.
Well, how's it going with work? I know you were talking about you were getting a new job soon.
Yeah, I actually think I'm gonna get it, but
Really?
yeah.
I don't know. There's like a lot of other people that are up for the job, and they're way far more experienced and stuff. So
Yeah.
Did you say you wanted like something else to eat? Maybe I could go and see what we have.
I could take more wine, please.
All right, I'll go grab some.
All right, I'll go with you.
Hey, is she always like that?
Like what?
Just like always putting you down on your case about everything.
Putting me down? She's not putting me down.
Really?
Yeah, she's just looking out for me.
By telling you that you can't dance and by saying that you're not going to get a
Oh,
job?
she's just helping me fix what I'm obviously not good at, so
I remember back in high school, we used to like go to all the dances and you know, you used to like get in
dude,
there.
it's literally just dancing. It's really not that big of a deal.
I don't know. She just seems to be putting you down about everything.
She's not putting me down. Like I said, she's just supporting me.
I don't know, whatever.
All right, I got some more snacks.
Oh,
So
you know,
you're-
I'm not feeling too well. Let's go.
But you guys just got here. We're gonna watch a movie.
Oh,
Yeah, the
I
night's still
know,
young.
but you know, I'm not feeling too hot, so
Oh.
babe, let's go. Let's go.
I'm sure we could get together another time.
Oh,
So
maybe.
nice
Thanks for having
meeting
me.
you.
Oh,
Of course.
thank you so much for the invite. Maybe we could like get together again. Bye. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for coming.
Let's go.
Have a good night, you guys.
Did that seem weird to you?
I don't know. He seemed fine, you know. He's a man. He can take it.
But he shouldn't have to take it. You wouldn't treat me like that, would you?
No.
So then why should he be treated that way?
Why were you doing that? You made me look like a
Doing
complete
what?
outsider. You made me look like an idiot.
What? No, I was.
Like,
no.
don't you care about me? You know how my past
Babe, you
relationship
know I care
was.
about you.
You
I was
know
just
how
giving her
that
a hug.
impacts me.
I was just
You made me
giving
sit
her
on
a
the
hug.
outside. Do you know how
I'm
isolated that
sorry,
made
you
me
could've
feel?
sat in my seat.
And
I
you
didn't-
hugged her? You hugged her? Are you like cheating on me or anything? You know how, like,
I
I get
love you.
like
I
that. Do
promise
you
you.
actually
Yes,
love me?
I
Do you
do.
really love me?
I love
'Cause it
you.
sure doesn't feel like that.
Thank you so much for having us. We are a foolproof improvisational troupe. We would like to give a special thank you to Kelsey and Janice from the Rape Crisis Center for teaching us about this, and also to Kelly from Family and Children's Services, because without them we would not know how to portray these honestly. So thank you so much. And thank you again for having us.
Let's have another big hand for Carroll. Well, good evening, everybody. It is my honor as an international past president of the General Federation of Women's Clubs to introduce our esteemed members of tonight's Sharing Services and Consequence panel. For those of you that don't know, GFWC is a volunteer service organization that was started in 1890. We have more than 85,000 members across the country, with an associate membership of at least another 1 million in 12 different countries around the world. Back in 2006, we adopted a signature project of domestic violence awareness and prevention, and it became the focus of our 3,500 clubs across the country. Each year, our members and clubs have donated approximately $20 million to shelters near them, to hotlines, to VAWA, the Violence Against Women Act, and numerous agencies who help in this field. Because of this work, it was my honor as the GFWC president to speak with Vice President Biden, the initiator of the Violence Against Women Act, and I was so pleased to hear that our state's attorney's office and our Carroll County Sheriff's Office have once again received one of their monetary grants to help provide needed services. Tonight's Sharing Services and Consequences panelists are Kelly Rainey, a licensed clinical professional counselor and director of domestic violence programs for Carroll County Family and Children's Services. Rachel Hughes, community educator at Rape Crisis Intervention Service. Candace Parrott, Public Awareness Chair of the Maryland Human Trafficking Task Force. And Brian DiLeonardo, State's Attorney, who has a statewide reputation for being both aggressive and skilled prosecutor with the ability to effectively and proactively target criminal activity. Each panelist has 5 minutes to share. And unfortunately, I am the keeper of the stopwatch, and I have the bell. So we will begin with Kelly. Let me get my stopwatch so that you.
Whenever you say go.
Okay, go.
Well, good evening, and thank you all for being here. I think that it's incredible that so many people have come out on a Wednesday evening to spend time with us. My name is Kelly Rainey, and I'm the Northern Director for Case Management Services for Family and Children's. In Carroll County, Family and Children's Services is the comprehensive domestic violence program. And to you guys, that might not mean anything specific, so I want to give you exactly what that boils down to. It boils down to free services for anyone, any victim who's experiencing intimate partner violence. Tonight we've had the pleasure of hearing Terry Smack speak, which was moving. And I can't believe I have to follow that, or Foolproof, to be honest. It seems like a setup, because I'm definitely on the brim of emotion after hearing and witnessing Foolproof. But what you heard tonight were some great, and saw tonight were some great examples of things that we do support and help and work with. So, Family and Children's Services provides free services. We have court accompaniment, so if some folks aren't willing or don't have family members who can go with them to court when they're filing for a protective order, we have folks that can meet them in the courthouse to help them file. We connect them to the Women's Law Center, who will make sure that the things are filed properly, which is another great resource in our county. We also have crisis intervention staff who can answer a hotline phone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We collaborate directly with the state's attorney's office, with Rape Crisis, with all the municipalities in Carroll County, law enforcement, to make sure that someone who's on scene is receiving a screen immediately to determine how we can best safety plan for their success, for their survival. We've been doing that practice since 2008, and we started with law enforcement, and since then have been able to add the hospital, local DSS, both the colleges in Carroll, so McDaniel and Carroll Community. It's quite an accomplishment. We're actually the only county that has all of those places that do the lethality assessment. So it's pretty remarkable. We offer counseling for children. We offer counseling for victims. We also have programming that's specific to offenders because we recognize that this is a family issue, and sometimes families don't want to separate. That's not always the answer. Oftentimes it is much more dangerous for a victim to leave the abuser, and it has to be the right time. So we try to focus on meeting the entire family's needs and helping everyone that's involved. I'll tell you, the offender program, however, isn't typically volunteered. They're normally court-ordered, unfortunately, but we would take volunteers if they wanted to come. The thing that people most ask me about is the Safe House. So Family and Children's Services operates a domestic violence safe house in the county. It is in an undisclosed location. We don't give out the address because we do try to keep it as confidential as possible. In the past year, we had 83 individuals that stayed in the safe house, and we served over 1,000 people individually with resources, with court accompaniments, with home visits. So that's a lot of people just in Carroll County that are being impacted who are actually reaching out for help. We know that that's not everyone who's experiencing violence in the home. So with you all being here tonight and getting these resources, we have information on the table that I encourage everyone to pick up. We have our 24-hour hotline listed. If you do one thing tonight, put it in your cell phone. You might meet somebody who needs that number. Give it to them. I encourage it. So I'm not going to need the whole 5 minutes because I don't want to bore you. Thank you for your time.
Hello, my name is Rachel Hughes and I'm the community educator with Rape Crisis Intervention Service. So while Family and Children's Services is very comprehensive about domestic violence, we are here to meet the needs of a community who is affected by sexual violence, which sometimes overlaps, so we're very lucky to kind of have each other to piggyback off of when needed. So some services that Rape Crisis provides, we have a 24-hour hotline, which is an amazing resource because you can be confidential or anonymous on that hotline. And you have somebody to talk to 24 hours a day, somebody who's willing to listen non-judgmentally, like Terry brought up earlier is very important, someone who can help you with resources or information. We also provide free counseling, so free individual or group counseling for victims of sexual violence, their family members, their friends, anyone who has been affected by it. Not only do we provide that free counseling with a licensed counselor, but we also provide walk-in services, which means as long as our office doors are open, you are always welcome to stop by, and we will drop everything that we're doing and focus only on you and whatever issue you're bringing in the door with you. We also go out to the hospital and accompany victims who are in the hospital as a result of sexual assault. We will also go to the police station, to the courthouse as well, and we will go out to schools as part of that accompaniment process as well. Now, what I'd like to speak personally on, while we offer all these great free and confidential services, my kind of niche in this community is that I'm the community educator, which means I head our education program in Carroll County Public Schools. So I think it's first important to establish what is the need for this type of education for domestic violence and sexual violence here in Carroll County. Does it really even happen here? Back in 2014, Carroll County Public High Schools did this big survey where they gave every high school student a survey. They asked them to disclose experiences they had or behaviors that they engaged in. And it was truly eye-opening what they found. So back in 2014, when this survey was given, there were 8,512 students in Carroll County Public High Schools. 2,761 of those students disclosed that they had been raped already in their lifetime. 53% of that huge number were 15 years old or younger. They were children. Not only did we find such a huge amount of students had experienced sexual violence, but they'd already experienced dating violence as well. So of that 8,512 students, 1,594 had experienced sexual abuse in a dating relationship, and 1,598 had experienced physical abuse in a dating relationship. So there really is a need here in this community for our services. So I know Kelly didn't mention, but Kelly and Family and Children's Services also has an education program, and so we really like to team up and use each other as much as possible. So what does that look like here in Carroll County? So we've had the great opportunity to be funded by Carroll County commissioners to go into every health class from 6th grade to high school. Okay, So my program's a little bit different depending on the grade level. In 6th grade, we really focus on what is consent, what does that mean? Do I have the right to make decisions about my own body? Absolutely, okay? And what are boundaries and what do they look like in different relationships? And how do I know when something feels right or wrong to me? In 7th grade, we focused really heavily on sexual harassment because this is when we start to see kids trying to flirt and do all these things that might be misconstrued or might start to develop unhealthy patterns or behaviors. In 8th grade, we really start to focus on what are warning signs of unhealthy relationships. How do I know if something is happening that's unhealthy to me, or how can I protect a friend who I may be concerned about? And we really go into depth in some forms of abuse that could start to be unfolding. In high school, we have a little bit more time. We meet together for 80 minutes instead of 45 minutes, so we're able to really expand on everything we've built so far. So in Health 1 in high school, we focus really heavily on sexual violence. We talk about what are the impacts of sexual violence, how can we prevent this, what should we do if it ever happens to us or someone that we know. And then we also bring in that element of dating violence and unhealthy relationships because unfortunately we see, especially with young people, they really are very intertwined. Okay. And then in Health 2, one of my favorite subjects to talk about is rape culture and how is rape culture impacting the youth and how do we see rape culture in our advertising and our media and our music and how have we become so desensitized because of it. So I'm very proud to talk about this program. I'm very, it's like my baby, I love it. So last year, just to give you kind of an overview of what this looked like in a year. Last year we were only in middle and high schools. I'll finish with this. So I'm proud to share with you that last year we had 143 presentations to 3,571 students. So we're on a good uphill, and we're actually expanding this year with including the 6th grade and Health 2. So I'm very happy to be here, and thank you all of you for being here to talk about this.
Now we're going to hear from Candace. Would you like the mic? Is anybody having trouble hearing them? No? Okay.
I've got a big mouth, so I'll be all right. So good evening, and thank you so much for coming out, because that means so much to us, because it shows us that you care enough to come out. Great speech, great performance by the children, our young youth. And so it's good to see the youth on the positive side. So as far as the task force was formed in 2007, and it was made up from the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Attorney General's Office, and at that present time, the Baltimore State's Attorney. What do? They are made up of many different agencies, the various state's attorney's offices across Maryland. Am I not talking loud? Really? No. Okay. So what do? They make up of non-government offices, state attorney's offices, the various different agencies. What we do is the public awareness is to get out there into the schools, into the churches, into wherever we're asked to speak. Like I always say, if you're in this field, you're not in it to make money, that's for sure. So you do it because you're so passionate about what you do. So now I've touched on what the task force, how it was formed. What they will do is go out and educate, and the same thing along the same lines. We will come into your churches, we will come into your work, we will come into the schools, and we just did a whole health training, HD 101 and HD 201 for licensed social workers. We try to educate the law enforcement, so we have a good breakdown of how we can educate different people to handle our human trafficking survivors. Newsflash, everybody thinks it's in foreign countries, it's happening here in Carroll County. They recently just had a big sting. Of that, 3 were young ladies from Carroll County. So if you Google it, you'll find it. I'd just like to touch briefly on who they are. There are runaways, are giveaways, are throwaways. If you're not paying attention to your children and your grandchildren, they are. I think that whole thing that was depicted this evening was on point. One of the pimps said, if I look at a girl and I say you have beautiful eyes and she looks down, that's who I want. If I look at a girl and she says, get out of here, that's not who I want. Why? Because they're vulnerable. They go after the vulnerable. What it isn't only girls. It's guys as well as girls. The young men do not report, just like in sexual assault. They don't report half as much as they should. That's why I don't like statistics for that reason, but it's definitely happening to our young men. So how do we get involved? Because if you come here tonight and all you do is hear what we have to say, it's good, you've learned something. But if you walk away from here and you feel like you want to get involved, and I encourage you to, you ask, how can I help? I don't care your age, your class, where you are, there is always a way that you can get involved. We have an app that was developed last year, somebody developed it, that if you're on vacation, you take a picture of that hotel room, you upload it. If you upload it and there's a young girl that's calling for help, she doesn't know where she is, they go through, the law enforcement go through and they try to match the hotel to where this young lady is. Why Maryland? It's the huge corridor, it's the second largest business, the second largest. So when your young girl goes as a runaway and she runs away and she's 14, when you get her back, she's not that 14-year-old anymore. When she's had to sleep with 25 men a night and she's had to meet a quota, and it happens, and I'm telling you it's happening in Carroll County, you get involved. If you're teachers and you've got children that are falling asleep on the desk, and you say, well, why, if they're being trafficked, would they be in school? They're not in school to learn, they're in school to recruit. They're taught that they have a quota to go into the schools and recruit other young girls and young guys. So if you're teachers, I encourage you, if you want us to come out and talk, we will come out. Somebody from the task force will definitely come out and talk to you. If you see that they're not acting right, if your children, your grandchildren, if they're wearing clothes that you know they can't afford, if your 16-year-old has a 28-year-old boyfriend, why? What can a 28-year-old do with a 16-year-old? So there's certain warning signs. I know we don't have a lot of time to talk, and I would love to go into it. There's a brochure out there. I encourage you to pick it up. We also have a hotline, very easy to remember, 1-888-373-888. And it's on the brochure. If you don't get the material and you'd like to, Norma Jean has very graciously volunteered for you to get in touch with her. We'll get you all the materials you need. We can get you posters, we can get you handouts, we'll have people come out and talk to your youth. But again, if you have grandchildren, children, or that vulnerable child you know, talk to them and get them involved. Thank you.
I would like to remind everybody you have those little pieces of paper and a pen. Please start writing your questions. I'm sorry. And now we will hear from Brian.
Well, thank you. And I'll try to not have the music play. Again, thank you for the opportunity to come tonight, and thank you so much for putting on this event. A huge, one of our focuses in our office has been awareness, because the reality is that a lot of people don't think it happens here, they don't think it happens in their family, and it's so easy to dismiss when it is happening, to sort of write it off as a one-time event or something that, you know, was isolated or they're under stress. So the awareness is huge because, as Terry so eloquently put it, you know, it may be one of you that is that deputy that showed up that night, was able to be the moment where, you know, someone was ready. Someone was ready to listen to that message and be able to act on it, and that person was the hand they needed. And that's why these events are so important. A little bit about our office. We have several of our people here tonight. I at least want to recognize them if you have questions. When I came into office, one of the things that was really important is that we dedicate a unit to these kind of crimes. Because as Terry was able to point out, these have special challenges. Because, you know, we'll have someone that has their lawnmower stolen, and they will call nonstop and demand justice because of that lawnmower. But we've had cases, literally, where a woman was severely cut and maimed and would have died in front of her children. And when we're preparing for trial, she's questioning whether she wants to cooperate. And because exactly of the things that Terry points out, not feeling worthy and not feeling that they deserve to be treated in a different way. So one of the things that's really important is in our office, you know, all of our prosecutors, I believe, are very, very conscientious and sensitive to these issues. But we're able to dedicate a set unit that has a higher level of training in these issues and also develops that relationship. Because many times the victims in these cases we will see multiple times before they're able to finally break free. And so we want people in our office to develop that relationship for someone they can reach out to and that they can talk to both during the case and after. We have people that come in and choose that they do not want to testify. And we do that without judgment. We understand the process, and we want to let them know that we're still here the next time when they need us. And I think that's really important. So our Special Victims Unit, our supervisors here tonight, Amy Ocampo. We have Steve Rozier. Steve Rozier is another one of our prosecutors. And we also, our victim advocate, our domestic violence victim advocate, Gabby Butler, is here as well. So they all work with, last year we had approximately 462 people that this specific unit worked with that were victims that came in, and sometimes multiple times. The other thing that was important, and we work a lot with Family and Children's Services on this, was I wanted to, when I came in, have a domestic violence court. The way it had worked is we had cases, domestic violence cases, that would wind up in court any day of the week. And we have such tremendous services that can be offered. So what, in cooperation with the court, and Judge Brian Green has been incredibly receptive and a driver on this as well, is to have a domestic violence day where all of these cases are on the same day so that services can be there at the courthouse for everyone coming through. I also think there is strength in numbers sometimes, because you have people there saying that they're not the only one in this situation. And I think that's something that's been incredibly helpful, and the Family and Children's Services has worked tremendously with that. The other thing I would bring up is when we talk about awareness was getting back into the schools. I happen to sit on the board of Rape Crisis Intervention Service. That was a huge thing to have them back in the schools, and I'm very appreciative of the schools letting Rape Crisis back in to educate, because we know, obviously, that this goes on in the schools. And it's, you know, in terms of school age, you know, you have the alcohol, you have the parties, we see the sexual assault, and also that's very often intimate partner violence that's a rising area, which is our young people. And so last year, again, Rape Crisis was involved, Family and Children's Services involved, and Foolproof came out and did a great job in reenactment to all of the high schools in the county, which I think was tremendous effort. And last but not least, certainly Terry has done a tremendous amount in this, and I will say, when you have a survivor share their story, it is incredibly empowering to other survivors, as well as other those that are looking to get out of a situation and know it can happen. So I'm always humbled when someone shares that kind of personal detail, and I'm very thankful for that. So.
Thank you. Thank you, panelists. And now I'd like to invite Terry Smack and Brian Zimmerman up to join the panelists up here. And I believe the Women's Club members are going to go around and collect some of those questions. If you have a question, can you pass it to the end of the row to facilitate that? We'll just take another minute or two for thank you. And now we have a mic for the panelists. If you could pass that down, whoever decides to answer the question, that would be wonderful. Please write your questions down quickly, or if you don't have time to write them, maybe we can just have you, I don't know, come to the microphone. I've got a couple of questions to get us started, and the ladies will continue to collect your questions. So the first one is, when you do community outreach and education, do you address how to identify racial, religious, LGBTQ, etc., impacts, how it impacts social assault and intimate partner violence, and if so, how?
Okay, I can
So yeah, we definitely have a discussion, at least especially in high school, about what are the warning signs and how do they look different for different people. Because they look different for males than they do for females sometimes. They look different in LGBT communities other than in heterosexual communities. But the big overarching theme that we really talk about when we talk about this is that it's present in every type of individual or relationship. So there's not one group that isn't also experiencing the same types of things. So I think that's the most important thing that we can talk about, is just really validating that there's no one person that this happens to.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. The next question we have, this person says, I have a daughter who is a victim of domestic violence, who is still on that roller coaster. What can I do as her parent to help her?
I think the best thing that you could do is just listen. When you're near her, hug her, and don't judge. First of all, she has to be willing to get off herself, and sometimes that's not always the easiest. Do not try to intervene because it doesn't work. But just hold her, tell her you love her, and you're here for her, and just listen. I think that's the best thing that you can do. And when she's ready, don't bash them. It doesn't work. Just be there for them.
Thank you. That's really good advice, Terry. The next question is, do we have a long backlog in our court before cases are heard?
No, I would say we don't. Actually, typically with the domestic violence cases, we get notified of them right away. In fact, sometimes if someone has gone in for an ex parte order, the judges they'll call us over to meet with those victims immediately. The cases typically are within 60 days in district court. Now, that doesn't mean that someone can't try to delay and ask for a jury trial and do certain things. But even with that, we're typically back in court within another 30 to 60 days. Now, for someone in that situation, that's a lifetime. But what we try to do is we're working with Family and Children's Services as well as what we can with the courts is to provide whatever protection they're willing to take. We've even, Westminster Alarm Company locally, we had actually partnered with, where they're even willing to give free security system to someone that is under fear during the court process, that actually they'll come out and install that security system within 24 hours, which again, for no cost, which is again a testament to our community and the work that we do together.
Thank you. I think this one is for Candace. What age is most susceptible to be targeted by human traffickers?
You'll very often hear people say 12, and we tell you no, absolutely not. There are a lot of 12-year-olds. I take my hat off to the recent cross-country sting that we did, and a lot of the agencies work very closely together. We just did, there was a cross-country sting just last week. They recovered 84 children and 120 perpetrators. And when I tell you there was one thing that really bothered me, there was a 6-month-old baby and a 5-year-old child that they tried to sell to an undercover police officer for sex. So that's why I say, as much as we'd love to do the presentation, and we'll come out and definitely show it to you, but you would be shocked, you would be floored at what happens. And another thing I'll point out with human trafficking is, it's not just the everyday pimps, it's also that mother that pimps her daughter to pay the rent. So there's so many different areas of human trafficking, and it's an eye-opener. Like I said, it's in Carroll County from 6 months to whatever age. No class. Low, middle, high. Absolutely.
Thank you, Candace. This one is for Kelly, I believe. What percentage of your clients are male versus female?
So I would say that what we serve primarily is female. We do offer services for all victims of violence, and so I would say probably 10% of our victims, and that might be a little high, maybe 8% are male. But remember that this is also a very stigmatized thing. So women don't report as high as they should be reporting. So men certainly aren't reporting. And we're also looking at subpopulations such as folks that are in non-heterosexual relationships that are also not reporting because of stigma. So I don't think those are actually reflective of the people that need the services, which is why events like this are so great, because you're hearing me say, it's okay, we're not going to turn you away. Come get help from us, just come talk to us, you don't have to leave. And so, you know, keep that in mind, that this is why we do these things, to educate.
Thank you. This one's for Rachel. If you suspect a friend or student is in a violent or abusive relationship, what can you do to support them if they haven't confided in you yet?
Okay. So I think if we are noticing warning signs, and Kelly, you might want to chime in here if needed, if we're seeing warning signs, if something's happening that we're concerned about, I think the best way to approach that situation is to go to our friend and say, hey, look, these are the things that I've noticed and I'm concerned about it because I'm concerned about you. And how can I help you? Is there something you want to talk about? And also giving that person space and power and control, the power and control they're not getting in that unhealthy relationship, to make their own decision. And it might not be the decision that you like, but what we need to do is just keep reminding our friends, hey, you know, when you're ready, I'm here, and I have resources that I'd love to share with you, but I'm not going to force you to make a decision. Because when we force our friends to make decisions that we want them to make, then we're taking away power and control, just like that unhealthy or abusive partner that they have.
Can I say something to that?
Absolutely.
It's gonna look like they don't want to be your friend anymore. And so I think that that's the hardest part when we're dealing with this, because abusive partners are trying to isolate their victims. So I think along with everything Rachel said, which is spot on, it's just remember that they're going to keep trying to push you away and just trying to stay present and just wait patiently for them to come back. Just keep reiterating the same message that you're there to support.
Thank you. And our last one, but not least, is for Paul Zimmerman, and I'm bringing his name tag right now because I forgot to do it earlier, sorry. And this question is to ask you, how in the world do you come up with these amazing students to do these amazing improvs? And how do you work through the feelings and the emotions and the violence and all the issues that go along with any one of these situations that people find themselves in?
Wow. Okay. We actually hold auditions, and at the end of the year for the following year, and we've had some incredible actors that we didn't feel really were good enough for, not good enough, but weren't appropriate for Foolproof, because we look not just at their acting abilities, but we also look at what we can see their hearts and their desire to help others. And some of the kids that actually come into the troupe start off wanting that acting experience, because we teach a whole different style of acting. It's not like stage acting. Again, it's improvisational, and literally some of our shows were probably from me to Kelly from the audience. So we're right there, especially when we perform at Shoemaker. For those of you who don't know, it's a drug and alcohol rehab center, and we perform for people going through addiction rehabilitation. And as far as the scenes themselves, a lot of them come from the kids themselves. We ask them, what are you seeing in the schools? What issues do you want to see addressed? And then we start working on these scenes, and then we say, well, who would be in this? Why would they be in it? And through that, and like I said, it's been mostly through the troupe members over the years. This is our 31st season. But the vast majority of the scenes have come from the kids themselves. A lot of times also, too, we'll get a request like for tonight, dealing with these different issues. And so 2 weeks ago, we developed a scene that was dealing with the trafficking. And this past weekend, we kind of really developed and worked on that scene dealing with the verbal abuse that we showed at the end. The kids, you can get very, very emotional in it, but we are a very good support group for each other, because if somebody is too much into a scene and they're having trouble getting out, then one of the kids sitting on either side of them will just reach over and ground them and let them know that they're safe, let them know that we're all behind them, we've got their back, that if they go out on a limb, that we're there to keep them from falling off. So a lot of it is like the kids, a lot of it, Savannah is an incredible co-director. She's like a mother to the kids. So it's through that mutual support group where we lean on each other and we give them enough background and information. Like I said, we had Kelly, Janice, Kelsey have all been incredible in helping us figure out who these particular people are in these scenes. Not characters, but people, because we try to make them three-dimensional. So again, it's a big support group among each other, and we really try to give the kids the strength to do these particular scenes.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any further questions that anybody in the audience has thought of since we asked you to pass your questions in? No? Well then, yes.
I actually have one. So I'm curious, and maybe from the prosecutor's standpoint, Terry alluded to the way that the custody arrangements went with her separation initially. I'm wondering what ways the presence of domestic violence mitigates the custody, custody arrangements for children who are involved in families with domestic violence.
I couldn't hear all of that.
Could you come?
Sorry.
Can you take this to her, please? Thank you. I'm sorry. I was having trouble hearing it. I thought it was just me. Thank you.
That's what you get for asking a question.
I know, right?
So I'm curious, in what ways does domestic violence, the presence of domestic violence in families, impact custody arrangements for children when there is a separation or part of those proceedings?
Well, obviously it does. I mean, ultimately, while we do the criminal aspect of this, from a divorce law aspect, the court certainly is going to look at what's in the best interest of the children that are involved. And so, certainly any examples or evidence of domestic violence is going to be weighed very heavily by a court, because they're looking to see which parent is really in the best interest of the child. And that's, so again, and I'm sure Terry would be able to tell you, that's obviously something that's going to be considered, because if you have someone that has violent tendencies, I rarely, if ever, have seen someone that is that way as to their spouse, but is a perfectly wonderful father. I mean, there's typically other things that are going on at play. So the courts certainly consider that.
Thank you.
And just
Any
real
other
quick,
questions?
You might not know, but his day
Job,
job,
he's the Register of Wills for Carroll County. And I always laugh because I never see him in that role. We're in the same floor. I always see him out with foolproof. So, but that's actually his day job.
Any further questions? I see one right over here. Norma Jean, I'm going to give you the mic back.
How challenging is it to get a protective order? And what's the difference between that and an ex parte order?
Sure. An ex parte is essentially, it means one party. So what happens is when someone comes into court and they're asking a judge for an order for someone to stay away and not abuse, it's called an ex parte because the other side has not had the chance to be heard yet. And if a judge finds sufficient facts based on the testimony, they will order that and schedule a hearing within 7 days. That is when there's a full hearing where both sides then will have the opportunity to present evidence to the judge. If the judge, again, based on both sides having presented, decides that yes, there is an order that should be granted, then it is a full and final protective order. So that's the difference. It's just the first one is sort of that emergency order to temporarily, hold things until both sides get a chance to come in. And the reality is you'll have many of those that will be contested, but there's really a lot of them that aren't too. And many times people that will consent, or sometimes if there's custody-related issues, sometimes they'll get worked out at that time too, temporarily until the divorce can be done. But that's the only difference, is it's just a temporary order.
And I have to say, for my part,
for my part, the court system, you know, even my stuff that went back 20 years ago, was very receptive to my needs. I never had an issue, even though it was, ex parte was issued on numerous occasions. And he also violated several of those. But I have to say the court system here really, really helped.
Thank you. Are there any further questions? One more right here in the middle.
I think I'm mouth enough. It's fine.
Okay.
I just had a question for Miss Terry. I'm sure that you've talked to like your children about like how they're forming relationships and how they know it's a healthy relationship and like what to do with it if they can't get out of it. How has the whole process with your ex and your children, how has that influenced them in forming relationships in their own lives? I know that might be hard for you to say this.
Well, the relationship with my children and their father, two of them have a pretty good relationship. One remembers a lot. The other one was too young to remember anything. I have a daughter from her previous marriage who, you know, was aware of some of the things that were going on. And she doesn't have a relationship with him. But I have a daughter who does not have a relationship with her father. And you know, it's kind of sad in a way, but she's chosen.
It's not your fault.
She's chosen because she doesn't want to be in the same situation, because you know, he did do some verbal abuse to her, even as she got older.
Let's give a big hand to our panelists. And once again, to the board, if you would stand up and give a hand.
New face. Thank you all for coming. This has been inspiring and enlightening and troubling. But I think it's been a great source of information, and I feel a lot more empowered, and I hope you do too, and educated about the issues in this community. And also very inspired that we have these wonderful resources in this community to help with domestic violence and sexual abuse and all these awful things. So let's give another round of applause. I'm Robin Allers with the Women's Club of Westminster, and we have some parting gifts for our panelists to thank you so much for participating tonight. So Jean is going to give everyone a gift. And also for the students in Theatrical, we have something. And Janice, thank you for participating in Great Crisis. I know a lot of us are thinking right now, what can we do? And I would invite you to, as Terry said, Terry has so graciously provided these purple survival bags for victims of domestic violence who are escaping a violent situation, find themselves at a safe house or in a situation where they need pajamas or shampoo or detergent, and they're not able to go back to their homes to get it. And so if you can pick up one of those and maybe have your church group or a book club, maybe all come together and fill a couple of those bags, that would be terrific. We also have a little jar out there for donations. If you care to make a donation, everything will go to Rape Crisis Intervention Service and Family and Children's Services. So, and one last announcement, I think we probably still have a lot of homemade cookies and some cake and some waters out there. So please help yourselves to do whatever you can out there. And thank you again for coming tonight.